Well, good morning. I had posted earlier about a preview of making this dump truck. So today's the day we're going to get started. I got delayed a bit by making a bunch of pens, and now I'm out of parts to finish. I'm making 39 pens, but I ran out of components. So while they're waiting to be delivered, I thought we'd get started on this dump truck. So first thing it's calling for here is to make the frame, as you can see here. And so I took a piece of three-quarter inch oak, and I cut it out drew it out, measured it, cut it out on the bandsaw. So I got that done. The next thing it's calling for is for the engine block, you can see here. And so in order to get that going, I glued up this oak and then sanded it smooth on all four sides, and then drew out the cuts on here. We'll be cutting this on the bandsaw. On the bandsaw, I had to change out that 1/8 inch blade to a 3/8 inch blade because this is pretty thick. I think this is about, calling for it to be 3 inches thick by 4 3/4 long. So that's oak, and I cut through that. The bandsaw, you don't want to break the blade if you're using a little 1/8 inch blade. And also it tends to wander a little bit in that depth. So we'll get a stiffer blade and we'll cut that out. Well, we got the frame here, and it's not quite done. I did cut it out, but it's calling for a 45-degree angle on the back, and also drill a hole through it for the pivot, so the bed can pivot back and forth. So in order to put that 45 on there, I could rotate the radial arm saw 45, but I think I'm going to just do it on the disc sander. So I'm going to set this table, you can see it like this, and just go in until it's a 45. And there you go, got the 45 on there. We'll sand that. It's just clearance, so when the bed comes back, it doesn't hit the corner. So I'll sand that a little smooth, and then we'll drill the hole. It's calling for a 1/4 inch dowel to slide in there. So depending on the size of the dowel, I'll mic it. We might use an F drill. I got some letter drills that'll give just a bare clearance to keep the bed tight, the dump box tight, but still allow it to swing freely. So there's the 45 on there. I'll just touch that up and sand it real quick, and we'll use the 220. There we go. We'll drill a hole. It's calling it for it to be 3/4 of an inch in from this back end. Put this on 3/4. There, 3/4 inch. Double check it. Oh, that's 3/4. Three-quarters it is. Get that in the center. And we'll drill that in. That distance from the end is pretty critical, because if it's too far forward, when the bed lifts, it won't clear this back portion. So you've got to make sure that this distance from here to the center of the hole is not too far. It's got to be pretty exact. If not, if it's a little too far, you could sand this back a little further and give it a little closer to the end. But you want to make sure to knock off that corner, even though it's 45. give a little smooth edge there so the bed rolls smoothly. Okay, we'll drill that hole. Let's see, we'll go grab a dowel and see what size. I'm going to use a hardwood dowel, probably a maple or an oak one, something that's hard. All right, got a 1/4 inch oak dowel. I'm going to chop the end off, make it square. And that dowel is, oh, I didn't mic it. Grab the micrometers here. So like 0.247, 245. So a 1/4 inch, it should slide in there with a 1/4 inch drill. 1/4 inch is 250. So 2 or 3 thousandths clearance. If not, we can hand sand this just a little bit. We'll give that a try. See how that comes out. Touch it on the bandsaw real quick to get rid of any burrs. And we'll see how that dowel fits. Hopefully it's going to fit okay. In there. So it is a little tight. It does turn. The advantage of that is that when you set the bed, it'll hold the bed up from the friction. Of course, you have plenty of leverage. Over time, it is going to wear it down a little bit, so we might just leave it tight like that since it still goes in okay. Goes in and comes out. It's a little snug, but not too bad. So we'll set that aside. That'll be good, we think. Save this dowel since it's the one we measured. And then we'll cut that cab. So the first thing this says is to cut this tapered outline on the bandsaw. So we'll cut that first. So in both of these cases, I've cut outside the line to make it so you can sand it back. We'll run it on that belt sander real quick to get rid of the burnt part and make it nice and flat. So there we have it. Got it all smoothed up nice and flat. Got our layout marks for where the windshield and the cab portion's gonna go. So we're doing the layout. Got this all ready to go. Doing the side profile. It's gonna be like this. It's going to be the top, so we're going to have the windshield sloping down and the hood sloping and the windshield both sloping. So I'm doing the side profile so we can cut this out. The way I'm going to lay this out is, let's get a little better angle on this. You can see that. I got this compass I had from the mid-70s when I was in college, and I kept it. They don't wear out really. It's calling for a 7-inch radius, so would be a circle that's 14 inches across. And so I'll line this up with this line here, and then have it over there, end up where that cross member is. So something about like this. So those intersecting lines should about meet. Right there. not to be exact, you're going to be hand sanding it anyway. Get that radius on there, so gives you a profile to follow. You can see I got that on there like that. The front where the bumpers goes 1 inch, and then the drop. Now we got to go a 1/4 inch drop from here to here to slope the cab top. And then we'll angle this down from the corner a 1/4. And then you can see how the top of the cab is going to slope down, and then the windshield is going to slope down also. And that windshield's going to slope something like here. So you come to here, then you'll slope down to here. So got that part done. Come down from the windshield here. Yep, and then come across the hood. And we'll do that on the bandsaw. So the first cut's going to be coming across for the windshield and then across the hood. See how that goes. There we got the basic profile. Of course, this side's not matching right. We got to trim it up a little bit. I couldn't make that sharp turn with that wide blade, but easily trimmed up. So as you can see, we got the basic layout of that. I still got to cut this roof down a little bit. I will switch over from the 220 because we do a little more serious sanding. Get this 220 pad off and grab one that's a bit coarser. We'll go with a 80 grit. I'll clean that up a little quicker. This wood's pretty hard oak. So I cleaned that up pretty good, get that radius on there, looking pretty nice. Now we got to get this other window cut back the other way. So the windshield is symmetrical. It's not further back on one side than the other. So we'll cut this back to the center line. So this is the portion we're going to need to remove, this section here. We're going to have to cut the bandsaw across here. Oh, and there we got it. The windshield's bent 45 like this. We'll sand this back. We got the angle this way and the angle this way and the radius, but we can adjust that and adjust this curve. We still got to cut this top back. We'll do that next. Actually, I might just grind that back on the discs. We'll see. We'll try that on the belt sander. See if we can't cut that back to that line on the top to give that forward slope of the cab. So we got that profile sanded back, got the windshield up done. This done, just needs to be hand sanded to make it a little more uniform. Also, we're going to radius it all instead of have the sharp edges. But the cab's looking pretty good. Run the sander over a little bit with the 80 grit sandpaper. So you know you're getting the sanding right when you get the angle right about midpoint of the windshield. So it's curved back, got a V-shaped right here. So I got one side sanded. I'm going to sand the other side at the other angle, and it'll look all right. And also, you can see it's slanted back, so it's slanted in a V forward and it's slanted back, and the cab slanted forward. So there's a lot of angles there. But I just get them all sanded, and then kind of sand in the profile, smooth out any bumps, and get a nice radius going here. With the coarse grit, we'll get this all sanded with the 80 grit or so, and then we'll do a 120, and then at the very end we'll do a 220. Well, we've got that cab rough sanded, and we're going to glue it to the frame. That's what it calls for next. Glue to the frame, and then we can, once we get attached to the frame, we can final sand it, you know, give it a polish. So there it is on the frame. I have to glue it on there and clamp it up, but it should stick over. Oops, see, the front aligns, glue that aligned, but it's supposed to stick over on both sides of the cab a little bit. That's what it calls for in the plans, a slightly overhang. So we'll get that glued up, wait for the glue to dry, and then we can sand that cab body down to the frame and get it all smooth as one piece. The next thing we'll go to work on is the fenders.